Have you ever wondered why people don't take you seriously? Why no matter what you say, there's a quiet smirk behind their eyes, as if they already know you're not to be trusted with depth? Listen carefully. Jung understood something most people never dare confront, that the fool is not just a clown in the corner, it is the mask you wear when you refuse to wrestle with the shadows of your own soul. You think your charm, your quick words, your clever distractions will shield you. But every time you dodge responsibility, every time you betray your own potential, people feel it. They may not name it, but they sense it. And so, you are dismissed. Not because the world is cruel, but because you refuse to become dangerous enough to command respect. This is not about pleasing others. This is about reclaiming the dignity you've surrendered. The fool is tolerated, yes. He entertains. He fills the silence. But he is never followed. So I ask you, are you ready to burn that mask? To kill the fool inside before it kills every chance you have at becoming real? Because if you aren't, you will remain the world's punchline. Forever. Let's begin. You think you know who you are. You think the face you show the world is you. But let me tell you something uncomfortable. That smiling, agreeable, polished version of yourself, that's not your soul. That's a mask. Jung called it the persona. And if you don't rip it apart, it will smother you. The persona is the costume you built to survive. It started in childhood. You learned what earned applause, what drew punishment, what made people love you, and what made them turn away. You studied every cue, every reaction, until you could slip into the role they demanded. The obedient child, the hard worker, the charming friend, the ambitious professional. It worked, at least for a while. But here's the danger. When you confuse the mask with the self, you become a hollow actor on a stage, desperately seeking the audience's approval. And the world can smell it. They see the rehearsed laugh, the empty confidence, the polished image that hides insecurity. They don't trust it. That's why they treat you like a fool. Fear should grip you now. Because if you stay trapped in the persona, your true self, the raw, dangerous, untamed soul within you, rots in the dark. You become a fraud to yourself. And nothing is more pathetic than a person who believes their own performance. Think about how much rage you've swallowed just to keep the mask in place. Every time you've said yes when your entire body screamed no. Every time you've laughed at a joke that humiliated you just to stay liked. Every time you've buried your pain so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. You have traded your authenticity for scraps of approval. Doesn't that make you furious? It should. The mask was never meant to enslave you. It was meant to serve you. But you let it take over. And now the persona wears you. You are its puppet, dancing for acceptance, while your real power starves in silence. Do you see the trap? You want respect, but respect never comes to the one who hides. You want love, but love can never reach a false identity. You want freedom, but you've chained yourself with lies. Now let me give you a brutal truth. Tearing off the mask will cost you. People will resist. They will call you selfish, arrogant, different. They will punish you for stepping out of character, because your mask is convenient for them. They get to enjoy the agreeable, predictable version of you. But the moment you dare to stop playing the fool, you threaten their comfort, and that is when your anger becomes a weapon. Use it. Let it burn away the illusion that you owe the world your obedience. That fire inside you, the one you've been taught to fear, isn't your enemy. It's your signal that the persona has overstayed its welcome. Imagine walking into a room without pretending. Imagine speaking the truth without flinching. Imagine people looking at you and feeling the weight of your presence because you no longer dilute yourself for approval. That is empowerment. That is the beginning of respect. But first, you must recognize the mask. You must see it for what it is, a survival tool, not your identity. Ask yourself right now, whose approval am I still performing for? Is it your boss, your parents, your friends, the faceless crowd on social media? If you don't answer that question, you'll keep dancing. You'll keep smiling while your soul screams, and you'll die a well-liked stranger to yourself. Jung warned, the persona is a compromise between individual and society. Compromise is useful, but compromise can also kill. You cannot build a life of depth, of danger, of truth, while you suffocate under a mask designed only to be tolerated. So here is the choice. Stay the fool, adored but empty. Or rip the persona apart, bleed if you must, and begin the ruthless work of becoming real. The mask you didn't know you were wearing is the very thing keeping you invisible. And until you crush it, you will never be more than the world's entertainment. You don't need to announce yourself as a fool. You don't need to wear a jester's hat or juggle in the streets. The tragedy is that your foolishness leaks out of you in habits so small, so unconscious, you don't even notice. But others do. They notice, and they never forget. There are 3 in particular. 3 subtle betrayals that strip you of dignity before you even open your mouth. And if you recognize yourself in them, let the sting of shame wake you up, because you're bleeding respect every single day. Habit 1. The nervous smile. You smile when you're uncertain. You smile when you're uncomfortable. You smile when you should be silent. That weak grin tells the world, don't hurt me. I'll make myself harmless. And they believe you. They believe you're harmless. That's why they never take you seriously. You think it's kindness. It's not. It's submission. It's self-erasure. And here's the frightening truth. Every smile you fake is another brick in the wall of your invisibility. You vanish behind your grin. Anger should rise in you at that. Because your smile, your beautiful gift, has been stolen and turned into a shield of cowardice. Stop giving it away where it doesn't belong. Save it for when your soul actually rejoices. Habit 2. The endless explaining. A fool cannot sit with silence, so you explain. You justify. You defend every choice, every word, every action, as if you're on trial in the court of public opinion. You drown people in words, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But the more you explain, the less they believe. Because power never begs. Do you know what they hear when you justify yourself? They hear weakness. They hear desperation. They hear the hidden confession. I don't believe I'm enough unless you approve of me. And nothing screams fool louder than needing permission to exist. You should feel anger at this habit. How many hours have you wasted explaining yourself to people who don't care, who will never understand, who enjoy watching you squirm? Imagine if you had stayed silent instead. How much authority would have radiated from that restraint? Silence is heavy. Silence makes people lean in. But you filled the air with noise, and they walked away unimpressed. Habit 3. The apology without sin. The most damning habit of all. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong. You bump into a chair and whisper, sorry. You speak up in a meeting and immediately soften it with, I might be wrong, but. You exist like an intruder in your own life, begging forgiveness for daring to breathe. This habit disgusts me, and it should disgust you. Because every unnecessary apology chisels away your backbone. You're training the world to see you as guilty, as lesser, as fragile. And believe me, people will treat you exactly how you train them to. Stop saying sorry when you mean thank you. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop bowing your head as though you owe the universe for existing. You don't. You were born with the right to stand here, to speak, to act. Start owning it. These 3 habits may look small, a smile, a few extra words, a polite apology, but they are signals. They tell everyone around you, I am harmless, I am uncertain, I am lesser. And once people brand you with that identity, it sticks. That's the fear you need to feel right now, that you've already been branded. But here's your hope. Habits can be broken. Respect can be reclaimed. You can burn these patterns into ash and replace them with presence, restraint, and unapologetic strength. But only if you stop lying to yourself. Only if you finally see these invisible habits for what they are, the language of the fool. You've seen the mask you didn't know you were wearing. You've faced the habits that scream fool to the world. Now comes the most brutal question. What do you do with all of this? Do you strip the persona away and live raw, exposed, vulnerable to every cut and wound? Jung was wiser than that. He understood that you cannot survive without a mask. The persona is not the enemy. It is a weapon, but only if you control it instead of letting it control you. And this is where most people fail. They throw away the mask entirely and crumble under society's rejection, or they cling to the mask so tightly they forget they ever had a soul. Both paths lead to ruin. The path of power, the Jungian path, is to forge a persona of iron. A mask so deliberate, so chosen, so aligned with your deepest self that it commands respect instead of begging for it. How do you forge such a persona? There are 3 brutal steps. Step 1. Know the shadow. Beneath the mask. The persona becomes poisonous when you forget the dark, repressed parts of yourself, all the anger you swallowed, all the lust, the envy, the hunger for power, the parts you hide because they terrify you. That is your shadow. And here's the paradox. If you don't face it, it will leak out through weakness. You'll smile too much. You'll explain too much. You'll apologize too much. But when you turn to face the shadow, when you admit the rage, the selfishness, the raw ambition within you, something changes. You stop pretending to be harmless. And people can sense it. They don't know why, but they feel the weight of someone who has faced their own darkness. That's the beginning of iron. So confront yourself. Write down the truths you've never dared to admit. Let the shame burn you. Better to feel the fire than to rot in denial. Step 2. Build a persona that serves, not enslaves. The iron persona is crafted, not inherited. It is not the obedient child or the people pleaser you were trained to be. It is the face you choose with intention. Jung said the persona is a compromise between the individual and society. But here's the twist. You get to set the terms of that compromise. Ask yourself, what do I want people to feel when they encounter me? Authority? Respect? Mystery? Warmth? Choose it consciously. Then build behaviors, language, posture, and presence that project exactly that. But here's the warning, you must align it with truth. If your persona is only an act, people will sniff out the fraud. But if it is rooted in your shadow, in the parts of you that are real and undeniable, it becomes unshakable. That's iron. Step 3. Test it in fire. A persona forged in isolation is brittle. You must test it against the resistance of the world. Speak your truth and watch people recoil. Set a boundary and feel the backlash. Refuse to apologize for existing and endure the silence that follows. Every test is a hammer strike on the steel of your identity. Each time you stand firm, the mask grows stronger, sharper, more indestructible. Do not expect applause. Expect resistance. The old fools in your life will hate the new version of you. They will miss the harmless clown they once controlled. Good. Let them choke on their disappointment. You are not here to entertain. You are here to command. This is the Jungian method. Not the destruction of the persona, but its transformation. The fool wears a mask he didn't choose. The iron soul forges a mask that serves his purpose. And let me be clear, this isn't about faking. It's about integrating. The iron persona is not a lie. It is your truth, sharpened and presented with precision. It is the meeting point between your authentic self and the world that demands a performance. You are both the actor and the director, and no one else writes your script. Fear this. If you refuse this work, you will remain the fool forever, smiling, explaining, apologizing until your last breath. But embrace it, and you will carry yourself like one who cannot be ignored. Forge your persona of iron, and the world will finally stop laughing. They will start listening. So you want respect. You crave it. You've been humiliated too many times, laughed at too many times, overlooked until the ache in your chest became unbearable. Now you're ready to forge the persona of iron, to step into the room and no longer be dismissed as the fool. But here's what no one tells you. Respect has a shadow side. Respect is not free. It is not clean. It is not pure admiration floating down from the heavens. No, respect is tangled with fear, with envy, with resentment. And if you are not ready to carry that weight, you will collapse under it. Let me make you afraid because you need to understand what you're asking for. When people respect you, they also resent you. They resent that you will not bow, that you no longer beg for their approval, that your presence alone reminds them of their own weakness. You will become a mirror they cannot bear to look into. They will call you arrogant. They will whisper that you've changed. They will plot, sometimes subtly, to pull you back into the cage where you once lived. Respect makes you a target. And if you are too fragile, too eager to be liked, you will rip off your armor the moment the arrows start flying. That is the shadow side. Think about it. You once longed for everyone to smile at you, to include you, to pat your head like a friendly pet. That was safe. That was comfortable. But it was also pathetic. Now you say you want more. Fine, but more comes with blood. When you stop being the fool, you stop being harmless. And when you are no longer harmless, people feel your weight. They can no longer push you aside. They must deal with you, reckon with you, account for your presence. That is power. And power always provokes hatred in the powerless. Are you ready for that hatred? Because it will come. This is where your anger becomes holy. You will need it, not to lash out recklessly, but to stand firm when the knives of gossip and judgment come for you. When someone smirks and says, "You think you're better than us now," you will need to feel the fire in your chest that whispers, "Yes, I am better than the weaker version of myself you still pretend to be." That anger is your fuel. Without it, you'll apologize your way back into the fool's corner. And here's the empowerment buried inside this shadow. Once you accept that respect will cost you affection, you become untouchable. You stop craving universal approval. You stop watering yourself down for the comfort of cowards. You realize that real respect is not about being liked. It's about being undeniable. Think of the figures you secretly admire. They are not universally adored. In fact, many are hated. But they carry themselves with such gravity, such certainty, that love and hate both bend toward them. That is the paradox. The more respected you are, the more polarized the world becomes around you. And that is how you know you've crossed the threshold from fool to force. But I must warn you again, the shadow side of respect is isolation. The crowd will not embrace you like they once did. You may lose friends. You may estrange family. You may feel the cold air of solitude, where once there was the warm, empty chatter of false belonging. Fear this. Fear it deeply. Because if you do not anticipate it, you will run back to the cage just to feel warm again. Yet, if you endure that coldness, something extraordinary happens. You discover a new kind of belonging, not with the masses who once mocked you, but with the few who recognize strength. The strong do not fear the strong. They are drawn to it. The people worth having in your life will rise to meet you when you stop being the fool. And suddenly, you are surrounded not by those who tolerate you, but by those who challenge you, sharpen you, and respect you in truth. This is the final secret of the shadow side. Respect filters. It strips away the shallow and leaves only the substantial. It burns away false friends like dry leaves, leaving behind the oak trees who can stand beside you in the storm. So here is the choice. Stay the fool and be liked by everyone, or forge yourself into someone undeniable and be loved and hated in equal measure. Both paths are painful. Both paths demand sacrifice, but only one leads to dignity. Only one leads to power. Jung never promised comfort. He promised transformation, and transformation always exacts a price. So, do you still want respect? If you do, stop asking for it. Stop waiting for it. Forge it. Endure the hatred it brings. Bleed for the solitude it demands. Carry the weight of envy on your back. And in the end, when you walk into a room, you will no longer need to beg for respect, because respect will bow to you. Now we arrive at the end. But endings are dangerous. because fools always treat them as exits. They nod, they smile, they say, "That was interesting." And then they crawl back into their old lives. They go back to the mask, the nervous smile, the endless explanations, the apologies without sin, and nothing changes. You cannot afford to be that fool again. The knowledge you've just taken in is fire, but fire, left unattended, burns out. Fire must be fed. Fire must be used. Otherwise, it dies. So here is your call to action. Prove to yourself that you've actually heard me, not just with your ears, but with your will. I don't want your passive agreement. I want a sign. I want you to comment one word below that symbolizes your decision to burn the fool inside you. One word only. A word that marks your transformation. It could be iron. It could be shadow. It could be respect. Whatever word resonates, carve it into existence by writing it below. That is your initiation. That is the first strike of the hammer on the mask you are forging. Do not skip this, because the fool will whisper, "It doesn't matter." And if you listen to that voice, you're already defeated. But there is more. Knowledge of the persona and the shadow is only one doorway. If you stop here, you will stumble blind into the next stage of your becoming, because Jung left you a deeper map, one that explains not just the mask you wear, but the very foundation of your character, the hidden type that shapes your instincts, your drives, your potential destiny. This is where most people shy away. They are terrified of discovering who they really are beneath the illusions. They'd rather wear the fool's grin than risk facing the truth of their design. But not you. If you've stayed with me this long, it means something inside you is burning for more. So here is your second call to action. On the end screen of this video, you will see the next step, Carl Jung's 4 personality types. The truth about who you really are. That is not optional. That is required. Because until you confront your type, you will not understand the full architecture of your power. And if you don't understand it, others will manipulate it. They will know you better than you know yourself. And once again, you will become the fool. You have a choice. Leave this video, go back to sleep, let the fire die, and I promise you, within days you'll forget everything I've said. You'll slip back into the old patterns, the nervous smile, the justifications, the apologies. You'll laugh at jokes that cut you. You'll nod when you should roar, and the world will keep dismissing you. Or you step forward, you etch your word below, you claim your symbol, and then you move into the next lesson. You let Jung's map drag you deeper into yourself until you stand face to face with your true design. Do not lie to yourself. Respect will not come because you liked this video or felt a momentary thrill. Respect comes only to the one who acts, the one who risks, the one who steps into the fire willingly and refuses to crawl back out as ash. So decide right now. Do not delay. Comment your word, the symbol of your death as a fool and your rebirth as something iron. Then, without hesitation, step into the next battlefield. Carl Jung's 4 personality types, the truth about who you really are. Because if you do this, you will no longer be the world's entertainment. You will be its reckoning. The fool dies here. The iron begins now.